Hi, everyone. Welcome. And I'm super excited to introduce you, as promised, to Coach Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Daniel. So excited to be here.
So glad to have you as well. And as me and Jamie talked about last week, Linda's gonna be one of the coaches in our new membership for parents in families where there has been a struggle with sleep. But to introduce you, I thought we could talk a little bit about your own experiences actually with having a child. And there was some concerns about that. So yeah, tell us your story about that, Linda.
Yeah, so I mean, like anyone who is a newly parent or has had a small child can probably relate to that having a small child is a really amazing but also quite overwhelming time. Uh, so much new to learn and to understand about yourself also as a parent and about your new role. So it was a very, very overwhelming time for me, and I was quite anxious during this time. I have
A-
quite.
And just for context, like how long ago was this?
So my son is almost 2 years now. So around 2 years ago. And yeah, so I was filled with a lot of worries and a lot of trying to master parenting. So I was doing a lot of reading already before my son was born. I was reading up on sleep, especially on sleep, because it felt like this big thing that you really had to nail down and to really get it right from the start, or otherwise it's you're going to be in big trouble. So I was really preparing myself. um, and so then, of course, my son in the beginning, he well, not of course, but he in the beginning he needed to be a lot held and really like to sleep on top of us and all these things. And there was ups and downs, a lot of ups and downs with his sleeps. It was nothing predictable and nothing that we really did right or wrong, or but then around 4 months, um, he had been sleeping quite okay, but then around 4 months he started having these 30-minute naps, and it was just 30 minutes all the time. And since I had been reading so much about that, baby's brain develops during sleep, and this made me really stressed. So
And
I
this
thought,
was in these naps, they were like at night. He only slept in 30-minute episodes, or he took 30-minute naps during the day.
this was during the day, so it was just like starting to have 30-minute naps. In the night he still woke up to feed a couple of times, um, but this was only during the day, so 30-minute naps on clock after 30 minutes every time he woke up. So I was determined to fix this problem.
And
I,
sorry, just for super clarity again, like babies usually have like kind of we all know like their sleep schedule is kind of crazy in the beginning, but they tend to have maybe longer naps. And was it that like these naps are too short? Was that the main concern here?
yeah, so he had a period where he napped really well. um, he was having 2-hour naps, and like he slept a lot. But then at 4 months it all changed, and he just started having these 30-minute naps. So yeah, so I was determined, I'm gonna fix this problem. So I did a lot of more reading, and a lot of more reading and nothing. I tried all kinds of things. um,
Do you remember
and
what you tried?
I yeah, I tried to swaddle him, but then you couldn't swaddle him really anymore. Then I was trying to be there always, like just before, half an hour before, I was ready to jump in and like help him back to sleep. um, and the noise machine, not music, but this like white noise machine. um, those are the things that I come up with now, but it was like more this, I was just really concerned and doing a lot of reading. um, and it got to a state where I was so stressed about his sleep that I was so wired and thinking about it all the time. And Berlin is also, it's a very, very noisy city, where I was living back then. Now I live in Finland. But so we have ambulances coming every 5 minutes. There's an ambulance somewhere. So I was really like alert, trying to find quiet place for him to sleep. So one day I took the pram, and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go out for a walk. And when it's like around 30 minutes, I will be like in a really, really quiet place in the like more in this like small kind of woods area. So I am there walking with the pram, and then at around the time when he's having his 30 minutes, when I'm like, okay, he needs to stay asleep now. If he passes this, then he will continue sleeping. Then the church bells start ringing. There's like, I didn't know that there was a church, so the church bells are ringing, and I'm running there with the pram, and I'm just thinking, I'm losing my mind. Like, if someone sees me now, they must like I'm becoming a crazy person. So yeah, I was very concerned, like you see. And this then led to me stressing and reading so much about my child's sleep that I had some insomnia during my pregnancy. And then around when my son was 4 months, it got really bad. So it was just, I lost one night of sleep because I was in this really, really wired state, just thinking about my son's sleep all the time. So I lost one night of sleep, and then I lost 8 nights of sleep in a row. And that's then when my insomnia got really, what I call my own second big one in the insomnia world. But yeah, so nothing really changed with my son's sleep after that. He kept having these half an hour naps up until he was around 7-8 months, and then it just stopped. Then he grew out of it. And but what I noticed, because then going from being so concerned about my son's sleep, I shifted to being so concerned about my own sleep and just started going down the rabbit hole with my own sleep. So I didn't really have that much time to think about his, or to worry about that he slept little. That I enjoyed parenting much more, even though I was so tired and exhausted, but I felt more, I just leaned into my intuition that I knew what I was doing with the parenting.
Yeah. Prior to talking here, of course, you had mentioned that it was really concerns about your son's sleep that in a way it created your own sleep struggle. But what I didn't, and I sort of knew that when you weren't so concerned about his sleep anymore, then after a while you saw that his sleep problems, which were probably just like normal development, right? It sort of resolved, like there was really no struggle there. But what I didn't know was this part of how, when you had another problem that you're focused on, the general parenting experience seemed to have become easier and more enjoyable. Is that true?
Exactly. And I noticed that just because there's so much information on the internet today, that how you're there's so many different do's and don'ts, and be super careful about this. And so once I just stopped reading, I enjoyed it so much more.
Yeah, very, very, interesting and not surprising, because when parenting is no longer this like performance where we have goals and we measure how well we're doing against some goals, etc., then of course it becomes more pleasurable and more intuitive, etc., etc. And in so many ways, I think that's a big part of what we're going to help parents with in our community. And now going back to your son, he's 2 years now. How is he sleeping fine, or are you like, how are things there?
Yeah, so he sleeps really well now. Well, really well. I mean, there's ups and downs. There was a period when we could just put him in the bed and he fell asleep straight away. But then we took away the side from the bed, so he can now get in and out of bed himself. So it's also more of a game now that he likes to get out of bed. So right now I'm always staying with him until he falls asleep. But some days also I can just leave him. It depends. Yeah, it's everything's going smooth there.
No struggles there. And but you bring up another question that I've gotten many times, which is that, like, is it okay for me to stay until my child falls asleep? Because again, we're often told that no, you shouldn't do that, because then they become used to that and then they can't sleep on their own. But in reality, I did the exact same thing. I just stayed with my kids and they fell asleep. And, maybe there is some truth to that. Maybe to some degree they get used to having you there, but maybe you don't mind because you know that eventually they're going to sleep by themselves, right? So again, it becomes those like you can just follow your intuition, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I've always stayed with him. And then, like I said, sometimes you could just put him down because he fell asleep almost straight away, like when he just started kindergarten. There's phases, but I always stayed with him, and for me, I also enjoyed it. And like you said, there's no child that will grow up to be an adult and still have a parent next to them. Like they grow out of it at some point.
Yeah, they totally do. And you know, for in our kind of sleep journey with our kids, like there came a point where you could read to them, and that became really nice. Actually, something we all looked forward to, spending some time reading to them at night. But yeah, with that said, I also wanted to give our community a general sense of like you know who you are, etc. So tell us a little bit about you know, where you worked and also where you live, and maybe just a little bit about yourself in general.
Yeah, so I have a background in education. I worked as a primary school teacher for the last 5 years. And like I mentioned, I used to live in Berlin, uh, and just recently, a couple of months ago, moved back to Finland, where I am from. So yeah, it's been really really nice to come back to my roots and having more support from the family. Um, really enjoy being around and having so much nature and family. It's been just super super lovely to be here.
So
Um,
nice. All right. And yeah, and just maybe for the community to know, like how we connected was that you had your own journey through insomnia. You found our teachings, and that was really helpful to you. And you certified as the coach in our sleep coaching program. Of course, is mainly oriented towards adults, but it's like the same principles help like in all our inner struggles. So when we were thinking about like the Wabi Sabri project, I knew that you know you had your own child, you were a teacher, so I was like, oh, she probably has kind of experienced both interacting with kids and their parents. So I was like, oh, this could be a perfect fit. So real glad you're here, and I think we can conclude there. And you will also start creating some content here and interacting with our community, which I look forward to very much. So I'll
yes,
just say thanks for being here, Linda, and I look forward to seeing much more of you, and I'm excited about the community getting that chance as well.
thank you so much, Danielle.
Okay, bye now.